everybody, Jason, also known as AJ Toynbee. Got a couple of things to share with you. It's been a little bit. Made a trip to St. Louis as my mother had eye surgery, so I had to be the seeing eye dog, as it were, for her. Surgery went fine. In fact, she probably at this point has better vision than I do. But made it back here finally, and a few things. I had the Swedish volunteers going. A couple videos of that posted prior to this one here. For all intents and purposes, I finished it. Didn't get to post the final video of that, but let's see if memory serves me. I did not use human wave, which was critical and would have certainly helped out the Russians. Not that they need any help. The problem is, how do you declare victory in this scenario? And I'm not talking about, and what I'm referring to is the Swedish Volunteer Corps scenario and Swedish Volunteers. Tons of Russians. They need to take a certain area, and you're able to do that more or less. But again, my question is, even if you are able to do that, can you call it a victory when you lose so many Russians in doing so? I guess, yeah, you could, and I suppose this is tactically correct. The Russians tended to do this sort of thing. But it just kind of sat weird with me. Just this masses of troops getting chewed up on the way, and I don't know. It was a fun scenario. It was interesting, but I'm not sure how you would really declare a victory, right? When you lose so many troops and trying to establish victory. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. While I was in St. Louis, I did manage to play two things, and then I got that thing where I combined stuff, so that happened again. I cross-contaminated things. What I started with, and I posted some not videos, but some pictures of this on the Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page, so if you haven't seen that, then this should be new to you. This is a standard combat series. Some call it OCS Light or Diet OCS, OCS being Operational Combat Series. I had it on the shelf for a while. It's a digestible game. Doesn't take, not a huge counter density, doesn't take long to set up. Doesn't necessarily take that long to play. This being the map, and as, how did I have it? As the Germans entering along this edge of the map, they need to move westward and gain victory points by knocking out American units and or taking one or two or all three of these east-west roads. I made it through a significant amount of turns, but the time didn't allow me to finish this. And I'm not sure why, but I started to become fixated on Bastogne itself. That doesn't necessarily need to happen in this game, but that is what in fact happened. I don't know if it was a subconscious thing, but I found the Germans pretty much laying siege to the 101st Airborne in Bastogne. I don't know, maybe that was how it's supposed to have played out. I think as far as the victory conditions go in this game, could have taken the north and south roads, knocked out enough units, and probably been able to establish a German victory. There's various grades of German victory in this. And probably not even needed to mess with Bastogne, although you do get a whopping 8 points for the road that goes through Bastogne. Anyway, when this thing was set up, it seemed a little scary for the Americans. You've got so many Germans coming, you've got a lot of German reinforcements. The only real thing you have to depend on is the 101st Airborne to not even necessarily turn the tide, but just literally hold out. The other thing that helps is about halfway through this thing, you start getting airstrikes, and those can help out significantly. So there's that as well. I'll add, and having said this already, excuse me for perhaps being the broken record, as a foundation, and I'm talking game design wise, how do I put this? If you look at this as a structure, right, and you look at the base or the foundation of the design of this thing, it's great. It's solid. It's near perfect. It's wonderful. But that's for me where it stops, and it's almost like the rest of the building, the facade that goes on the foundation, was never built. I don't know if this makes any sense. It does to me. But at a base level, this game works great. But beyond that, there's something missing. I really haven't been able to put my finger on it. The thing is almost too clean. There's not enough grit. Very little flavor. Maybe that is the nature of SCS as a system. Perhaps I find myself unknowingly or knowingly preferring OCS, but this game only goes so far for me. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. It's just my personal taste, preference. Something was missing from this. But I'll add, I did fiddle with this thing, as I want to do with stuff. And this map, I have a few games in storage back home, right? So I find myself staring at Axis and Allies Battle of the Bulge. I don't know why. And then I decided I'm going to turn this into a little side project and make this into an area movement game. Yeah? So I tried to do the polygons and the various sized squares that conform to terrain and roads and rivers, and about drove myself nuts doing that. Then I tried enlarged hexes. Then I tried just straight square grid until finally, literally, I took what the homemade ASL tumbler I made. I took something similar to this, right? And just started drawing circles on the map. And those were representing the areas as far as area movement. And size-wise, it worked out. And I took the, they tell you where to set everything up. So that's already worked out for you. And I broke down, because I actually used the plastic miniatures from that. And I broke down the number of troops, infantry-wise, divided that by 6 to represent 1 infantry figure. Tanks were 1 for 1. I was a little generous on artillery, but that's what I had there. And I did film a video of that, but I don't know where my head is at, or has been. I had held the camera not sideways. I haven't made this mistake in a long time. When I got done and played it back, you didn't hold the camera sideways. So it was stupid to even post the video, so I didn't bother with it. Had a lot of fun doing that though, and I did manage to get some pictures of that. Maybe I'll post those on the Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page. Again, the cross-contamination of games strikes again. It continues. What can I say? But not a bad game. But again, maybe not necessarily in my quote-unquote wheelhouse. Now here's the main event, right? I've held on to this for a while now, and it came while I was in St. Louis, which figures, and I keep talking to you guys with my top of my head cut off. Came while I was in St. Louis, and I've been back for 2 or 3 days now. Just haven't had time to get to it, but now I do, and that is this. And I know there are probably, if not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unboxings of this or whatever, but here comes another one. And still in the shrink. I haven't even been able to look through the stuff before this video, so this will be a first time for me as well as a first time for you guys. So let's just get right to it. I had this on pre-order for a little while. I wouldn't say it was a crazy long time. Seemed like it went fairly quickly. M&P's pretty good about that, at least with the ASL stuff. Don't sit. Then again, I think forgotten more might have been forgotten in the old M&P warehouse, because it seemed like that took quite a while. All right, so this thing's a beast, and for good reason. You've got this, which is not only a reworking of this, reworking I use loosely, but an expansion of this as well. That is all in here, hence the plural Red Factories. Also a historical area. So we have, oh Lord, 2 little sheets. I was going to play a game and say guess the color that the, whatever the hell this is, M&P sticks in here. Sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's yellow. I'm going to start playing a little game with that. Errata, huh? It's promising. 1 little thing, big deal. Ooh. Our chapter O. As expected, chapter O. For those that have read Barricades, you should already have this. I haven't had a chance again to look through this to see if and to what extent it has been updated or changed. Can't imagine significantly too much. What else? Another sheet that goes with it. Counter sheet, front and back. And again, I swear to you, someday I will get a legitimate camera and some decent light so you guys can see what the hell's going on. Wow, these counters punch out extremely easily. So we've got, yeah, you telling them all about it too? Okay. Some armor in here, some guns. Let's see what else we got. Let's move right along here. All right. Red Barricades Campaign Game Force Organizer. Well, you're going to have, looks like 2 each for the Russians and the Germans, which I imagine would be just dandy for team play. A little campaign map on the back there, handy dandy. What else do we have? More counter sheets. This would be the pesky little Germans. Whoa, save that for last, that's the map. More pesky little Germans. Map update overlays, okay. Wasn't aware that we would be getting these, but somewhat exciting. And look at this big, huge, this is, oh my god. Hall 4 Assembly Hall, main mechanical workshop. This guy right here is a gigantic building. As is the Foundry Hall. Wow, these are awesome. Foundry Hall here. Gun tube, thermal processing, and deburring hall. Deburring? Does anybody know what deburring is? Deburring? D-E-B-U-R-R-I-N-G. If only we had a little electronic device we could look things up on. Wouldn't that be convenient? More stuff, more overlays, buildings. Yeah, very intense, very cool. And they just keep, wow, it just keeps going. More. Look at this thing. What's the Hall 4? Martin ovens. So these are the open hearth furnaces all along here. Oh, that'd be fun, huh? More stuff, and finally, wow, this is just crazy. I feel like I'm looking at a dungeon cut out for Dungeons and Dragons with those. The Russians, as expected. Whoa. More Russians. So I don't know what number of counter sheets that is now, but good lord. And That should be the final counter sheet, and a veritable phone book of scenarios. Well, I guess phone book for Estes Park or somewhere small townish. We'll run through these here, alright? 1 down, 2 to go. This is the Barricades, 17th of October, 42. A lot going on with this. So I'm going to roll through these. There's that one. Yeah. Blood and Guts. Also the Barricade. Well, this is probably all going to be the Barricade. There's Blood and Guts. Let's see. 1 down, 2 to go. There's another piece of that. Red Factory number 2. That is in the Bread Factory, not the Barricade. Here's some more Barricade. To the rescue. There's just too many to keep flashing in front of the camera. The last bid. The last bid looks like a big campaign blowout. Turned away. The Red House. Fire on the Volga. Both take place in the Barricade. Ghosts in the Rubble. Great name. Takes place in the Barricade, as does the Commissar's House. Oh joy. Also in the Barricade, as well as the 138 of the 138th. Another big campaign blowout, Sandbanks of the Volga. That takes place East Central Barricade District. Anchoring the line, Northeastern Barricade District. Blood on the Tracks, the Red October Factory. Did I already? That sounds familiar. No, Blood and Guts. Alright. Second Step, the Red October Factory. Defenders of Stalingrad, Red October Factory. The Martinoffen, which takes place in the Red October Factory. And Men of Steel, which also takes place in the Red October Factory. Some more for Martinoffen. The Playing Field, Red October Factory, Men of Steel, continued from a prior page, another monster scenario, and Stone Age Caves, Red October Factory. So then that brings us to the glorious, wonderful maps. Let me get some of this back in here. The battery's probably gonna run out. Alright, let's see here. I won't be able to show these all connected because the camera won't be able to take it all in, but here is, see if maps numbered. Surely they're numbered somewhere. Nope. But here's a map. In the center we've got the manufacturing hall. And then above the gun construction hall. Martin Electro Furnace. Quite a bit of open area. Well, demolished, I should say. Rubble area. Here. About that much. It's interesting. We have right along the shore of the Volga here. Maybe I'll put these together and get a shot and post it for you. Just a straight picture. This is crazy huge. This is like nuts. ASL works in some respects and becomes a challenge to run, and others. This is one of those, but you know, at the same time, it's still a beautiful thing. I will never, in my life, probably ever play a full combined campaign. That's really what you need teams for. Wow. Everything looks just fine. Looks perfect. Just great. As expected, you know. I mean, what I'm looking at is not less than anything I would expect from M&P. when it comes to an ASL product. There's just good stuff. A lot going on in this box. I mean, if you had just this as an expansion, I don't know how long it would take, but you would be busy with just this alone for quite some time. That's that. That is Red Factories. And let's see here. Beautiful box cover art, which means a hill of beans to some of you, but I'm a big fan of good art on the game. It just sets the mood, right? And that is just fantastic. Great stuff. Alright, y'all. I'll talk to you next time.